I really wanted to ask you about, because you really are very active, and you wrote a book 4 years ago, Defying Gravity. You have been a public speaker all over the world, talking to groups for all kinds of reasons. And I really wanted to talk about how you juggle being a person who really makes a difference in the world with having a family and all the other things you do.
It's, my first inclination is to say it's tough, but I think the tough part is really being clear about your priorities. If you don't know what you want to do, I think it's wonderful to just juggle a lot of things, open yourself up. Juggle's the wrong word because it's the word we're using about how do you juggle everything, but to experiment, to open up to all different types of endeavors, activities, etc., so that you can find through process of elimination what you're interested in doing, what your calling is, what your passions are. Calling is a little bit of a intimidating word, but just even what you really enjoy to do. But if you know what you want to do, and I knew at a certain point what I wanted to do. I wanted to write the book that I wrote and the book that I'm writing now. I wanted to go around and speak about later in life possibilities. And when you have that kind of clarity, I think that one must, and I hesitate to use that word because I don't like to be prescriptive. I don't like to say you have to do anything. But I think that in general one must decide what's important to them and pare away all the excess. When I was writing Defying Gravity, I really pared my life down to family, just my dearest of friends, and writing. That's all I did. So I remember once somebody called me up and asked me to come to some party, and I was just practicing being bold, which is something I've been practicing for the last 8 years, just trying to do a bold thing a day. And I said to this woman, instead of making an excuse, which I might normally have done, pretended I was going to be away or had some other engagement, I said, you know, I'm really not doing parties right now. I said, you know, I'm working on this book and I'm not doing parties, and I love you, and you know, would love to see you at some other point, but I'm not doing parties. She was so thrilled, in a sense, to hear that honesty. And the honesty wasn't easy for me, but I was really paring my life down, and I'm doing the same thing again now. My circle's expanded a little bit more. The friends, I've made so many friends and connections through writing and through speaking that I have more than I had, particularly women friends than I had 8 years ago when I first started. But I really cut the fluff out, and it's the only way I could do what I'm doing, I think.
You know, I think it just isn't the fluff, but you get to a certain point in your life when you realize that your friends are still going to be your friends, even if you don't go to see them this time. You pick up the conversation where you had it last, even if it's a year, even if it's 6 months, even if it's a month or whatever, and it doesn't make any difference, because if you're honest with them and you're honest about your affection for them and whatever, they know it. And although you have the need for connection, it doesn't have to be all the time connection.
I agree.
And the priorities come that it doesn't need to be all the time.
I also, to be honest, have to say that I didn't start writing. I didn't start putting pen to paper. I didn't start doing all the traveling I've been doing, going, you know, around the world, until my youngest went to college. Now, I know other people. I interviewed a woman that became an anthropologist, she got her first teaching job at Brown University,
which is
no
an
less,
excellent school.
Ivy League school, at age 60, hired by Brown. But she got her PhD in her 50s. Before that, she didn't even have a high school diploma in her 40s. And her children were home. But she managed it because she created support systems in her life. And she's one of those people that just didn't make dinner every night and just let the chips fall where they may.
When actually, that's more acceptable now than it used to be.
Exactly. Thank goodness.
Yes.